कहाँ से हो लाई ऐसी शोख अदाएं, तुम ही से बनी है ये तुम ही को बनाए, झूठे बहानों से चाहते जताए, बाज ना आए जी बाज ना आए।
A few years ago, I was very fortunate enough to join this very talented actor for an interview. And I'm so glad that we are speaking once again for a film which is very emotionally resonant to a lot of us diaspora South Asians. And that is, of course, Main Vaapas Aaunga. And the talent in question is Vedang Raina. So, Vedang, it's so good to have you on Filme Shilmy. And thank you so much for joining. It's so good to have you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Well, look, Vedang, the last time, for the last few roles that you've done, this is a complete different world, right? This is you going back to the pre-partition era. It's the world of Nazans, it's the world of a lot of pain and separation. I think emotionally and mentally, as an actor, what really kind of got you into this zone and into understanding the fabric of the world that you were entering for this film?
Yeah, it's not a character like any I've played before. I'm also stepping into a completely different era, completely different period. As the film is set, at least the portions that I'm in is set in 1947. Um, I had to learn a lot about the partition because it's something you've only heard stories of from maybe your parents or your grandparents, but that's something I had to dive deeper into for this film. And also the fact that I'm playing a sick boy. Um, that's something completely new for me as well. And I feel like with that came a sort of responsibility. I keep saying that I put the pug on, and I felt like you can't really put that feeling into words, but I felt the best way I can put it is I felt a responsibility. um, so it's also a character that's far away from who I am as a person in general. The character that I'm playing, Kinu, is really shy. He's very nervous. He's very clumsy physically, also emotionally, and it was interesting to explore that kind of a space for a character. And actually, it's the most exciting thing. I think when I'm playing a character that's far away from who I am in every way possible, it's the most exciting thing to kind of reach or figure out or crack. And I felt that way about this film and this character.
Very beautiful. And I think Imtiaz Ali, there's a certain gehrai that is needed, I think, in an actor
Mm,
when you are working with him. You have to have this emotional depth, you have to have this intensity and this ability to think beyond the paradigms of what you know about acting, because his films are pretty much emotion first. So I would love to understand, I think, for you from that perspective as well, and like how you mentioned about the traits of the character, which is, we've seen glimpses of that in the song Mascara as well, as
yeah.
well as other songs as well that have come out. But I think understanding his depth and matching his vision is of paramount importance, because if that doesn't happen, then you have a bit of an unsteady product. But it seems like you managed to have really understand his vision. Talk to me about that, about seeing eye to eye with what his envision is.
Yes, so I agree. There's something about an Imtiaz Ali film that you immediately start thinking of, an emotional understanding like no other director has kind of captured. And that's true because mainly because of his writing. And that's kind of what I felt when I read the script. I read, what he felt about the characters, all the characters in the film. And I realized after meeting him that this is the type of sort of person he is as well. Uh, He is an observant person, and he really, I feel, understands human beings really well. He has a really, interesting way of looking at things, which is not, I'd say, not conventional, and that kind of shows in the films that he's doing. And with this film as well, I think what I tried to do to the best of my ability was to just really understand where Imtiaz's head is at, how he's looking at a particular scene, or how he's looking at a particular shot, or how he's looking at this character. What does he want this character, to walk like and talk like, and these kind of things. I think it started as small as that, but we would, what I feel like really helped me was we, Imtiaz sir and I, would talk about a lot of things at great lengths. Where it comes to partition, when it comes to Punjab, when it just comes to people in general, and these conversations, I feel like. I didn't realize that I was very subconscious, but maybe I was tapping into something, new every time. And I don't know if that was the purpose of these conversations. I don't know if that was his purpose, but, subconsciously, these things were happening. And, it's not for me to tell now if the sort of emotional depth that he was, wanting for in this film has been delivered when it comes to me. But I know for a fact that I knew the responsibility of being in an Imtiaz Ali film, and I knew how important it was for me to at least um deliver to that level. And you know, I hope everything, all our discussions, all our readings, all our preparation, um, has come to fruition. Um, and when the audience sees this film, they'll feel they'll feel something special.
Absolutely. Interesting since you mentioned special. What I've noticed is like in this for me reminded me of Love Ajkal actually. The era, especially seeing the Sardarji, from the past, coinciding with the present, the idea of love. It took me back to Love Ajkal, the first one. But the Kal Wala segment in the first one, I felt like, especially from the framing, there's more of a yellowish tinge to that Love Article, brownish yellowish tinge, right, in the
Mm,
framing. Here it's a bit more pastel, right? It's a bit more pastel. You've got your reds that are prominently there. And obviously during the times of violence, it does go darker, of course, as you can understand as well. But um I think for you, when you are as an actor playing around with the technical aspects, because how it unfolds at the end, you don't know because you're in
right.
front of the camera. But what at that point in time when you're in front of the camera, do these technical aspects help, especially of the setting that you're part of, which is essentially it's a historical setting, isn't it? So how does that all pan out for you as an actor, and how does that impact you as well in your performance?
That's a really interesting question. Thank you. And as you said, when you're shooting a film, you don't know how the grade of the film is going to look like, or even, I mean, I for this film, I don't think I saw the monitor even once, so I really did not know how visually, it was looking. And this is just an interesting fact that I'm putting in. Even Imtiaz sir is the sort of director that never really goes to the monitor. Very rarely do I see him go to the monitor. So that means when a scene is playing out or two characters are interacting, he is with those characters looking at them instead of looking how the effect of that looks, on a monitor, on a screen. So, anyway, basically, I did not know the visual language of the film. I didn't really understand. I knew Imtiaz sir was trying to do something when it came to the memories. And as you said, the grade probably has a lot to do with this feeling of nostalgia, because whenever you see the past, you see 1947, you see it through the lens of Nasir sir's character, and you see it in his memory. It always plays out in his memory, right? So that is why I think what has happened with the grade is it's very it gives you that feeling of nostalgia and happiness, and it may even be slightly exaggerated. Even, you think of a happy time and you shut your eyes and you probably imagine this really. You imagine it in the colors, quite like in the colors how you see, right, in the trailer or in those songs. And I think that's what they were trying to play with. and I think they've gotten that down pretty well. It gives a really I what I feel at least is it's like a storybook kind of feeling, and the grade kind of tells. I don't know. It's this feeling of happiness and nostalgia, and uh, a time which was innocent and pure.
Yeah.
Um, However, while shooting, we did not know these things. I think I've just about in my third film come to understand a few things that are technical, like cameras, angles, lenses. But I don't get too much into that. I'll get into it one day when I eventually direct a film. But that'll be like 15 years from now.
That's gonna be. I'm waiting for that day. That's gonna be really incredible. I'm also keen to see what you're gonna direct, actually, Vedang. Because
Yeah,
I think
I'm
that would be
keen to
very
see
fascinating.
myself.
No,
Yeah.
that's really, really interesting, actually, and thank you for sharing that with us. But you know, we've got to talk about Partition because look, that is it's so interesting because I feel like what Imtiaz has uh done in the last few films until Chamkila is where the emotional dysfunctionality is kind of is up, and then at the backdrop is the social dysfunction that happens around them
Mm,
and the
mm,
political dysfunction that happens around them, right? The human emotions were more reflective, but here thoda sa ab ulta pad gaya hai. I think now his films have kind of become a bit more exterior, and then the emotions then also kind of get spotlighted. I don't know if that if you get what I mean to say. And I think here with Partition, it's such a, like I mentioned in my intro, South, for us South Asians, it is such a hard subject to really really discuss. And I believe you're a Kashmiri Pandit, right? So you understand what it's like to leave your land, right? To kind of understand to what home, belonging, separation. These are very familiar terrains for you. I think for you to really understand the crux of Partition, and then adding that sense of longing and ashiki, so to speak. I would love to understand more about your thought process and your knowledge on that, and how it kind of, and how this film maybe spotlighted things that you might not have even thought about or even known before about Partition in particular as well.
Yeah, you put that really well. I'm a Kashmiri Pandit, so uh, not that my generation or me, I have not really, gone through that experience of what my grandparents went through. It was their generation, and they moved out of Kashmir, and I know that feeling of wanting to go back where you feel you belong. And very recently I'd visited Kashmir. I'd gone to Srinagar, and with my parents, and they used to like show me around Dal Lake and used to show me around these places, and they used to say we used to come here to like have an ice cream, or we used to come here and we used to sit here after whatever. And it felt so surreal, it felt so unreal that this is a place where my parents used to probably come in their childhood, and my grandparents used to literally live, and there was a house there that was ours, and we don't have it anymore. And I remember being there and feeling like I really want to come back here and I really want to do something in Kashmir. And you know so I'm not saying I understand it in the same way as the people from Punjab do about their partition. Their story is very different from ours. But that feeling of you being taken away from your home, I think that is a really strong feeling. And as Imtiaz sir had said very recently, that that migration is the story of the century. So because there is migration happening all around the world, not just in India. And the feeling of missing home, the feeling of longing for your home is a very, very universal feeling. So that is kind of what we're tackling here. And as you said, other things about the partition that I found out. Yes, a lot of things. I mean, partition for me, of course, everyone knows about it, but our generation is the first generation to kind of not have the colonial hangover and the partition hangover. So,
Right.
so from my generation to probably the next one, then they'll only hear stories, it'll become a chapter in the history textbooks. So we are probably the closest it comes to, being connected to the generation that has really gone through it. So my experience, or my in-depth understanding of the partition happened when I went to the Partition Museum in Amritsar. So that was part of kind of Sharvari and I. We decided to go on a recce, and we decided to go to the Partition Museum, and we thought that experience, or that knowledge would kind of just help us, and to be aware is interesting. So we went to the Partition Museum, spent like 5 hours there, you know, um, learned about things, read about things, and also, heard stories. There's anecdotes of people, video anecdotes of people, who'd really gone through this, and who'd, sat in those trains and come from, the other side to the side. And their stories are heartbreaking, they're,
Mm.
gut wrenching. And to know these things kind of in that first hand way was very eye opening. And then of course Imtiaz sir and I would keep talking about uh, things that would have happened, things that my character would have seen over the course of these 78 years. So stuff like that really, I don't know if it helps. Sometimes you do research as an actor and you don't understand what the exact effect of it is, or what the um, how it's really impacting your performance. But to have these things in your head, in your subconscious, I feel like changes the way you approach things, or maybe at least you give some sort of dignity to things that you wouldn't have otherwise.
Absolutely, very beautiful. Right, since we are coming towards the end, I've got a big two-part question for you. Right, number one, the first part of the question is, I would love to hear a few lines of Mascara because love your voice in that, and I thought Sharvi's expressions were mind-blowing. It was beautiful synergy that you both have. I'm loving it so far, and the second part actually is, I think, largely with your career. Actually, I love the way you've really championed these characters that, have a sense of innocence but revolution in them, It's almost like a silent, youthful revolution, that dark circumstances are there, but you're also resilient. And I just love these themes. Is this something subconscious that you look out for in the roles that you do undertake now? Or is it just a natural course of how Archie's first happened and then things just unfolded for you?
I still say that it's a course of things unfolding for me, mostly. Archie's happened and then Jigra happened. I keep saying that those aren't projects that I chose. They kind of chose me, uh, because I was in no place to be selecting from, scripts, and it just happened to happen that way. And when it comes to this project, there were a few other things that I was listening to, and I had a few narrations, but uh, Imtiaz sir came to me with this, and there wasn't a thought about what this movie would even be about before I said yes to him. I didn't even know too much about it, but the second I understood in that meeting that Imtiaz sir is writing something and he's considering me for it, I said, yeah, I'm sold. We don't even need to talk further. So, as you said, the choices that I've made, I feel like have happened because I haven't really made this conscious decision to do these films and to choose these characters. Of course, there are topics that excited me and attracted me, but it just happened to, be this way. I didn't choose this trajectory or choose this, progression. Um, but and it's nice that you say this, that there's youthful resilience. I mean, this character, especially Kinu, in Imtiaz Sir's film, is kind of a symbol of that. I mean, his rebellion even is so pure and it's so innocent, and I think it's a very interesting character to play. uh, and what was the second part of your question? To sing to sing a few lines. Okay, okay. I'll do a couple of lines. I feel like my आवाज is थोड़ी बैठी हुई today, but I'll still try. So it goes, कहाँ से हो लाई ऐसी शोख अदाएं, तुम्ही से बनी है ये, तुम ही को बनाए, झूठे बहानों से चाहते जताए, बाज ना आए जी, बाज ना आए.
That was beautiful. Kismisi Yara, I'll add that part in as well. But
Yeah.
thank you so much, Vedang. I tell you, honestly, I think even I remember last time we spoke for Jigra as well, and you
Mm.
graciously sang for us then as well. And honestly, you are such a tour de force, and I genuinely think that it's so heartening to know that such fine talents like you are really getting that opportunity now and are doing such a fab job at your craft, at have bringing this really natural charm to the characters that you play. And I think Main Vaapas Aaunga is so special and very timely, actually, might I add as well. And honestly, more power to you. And I cannot wait to see the film on 12th of June. So thank you so much for joining me on Filmy Show Me. It's been such a pleasure to
Thank you. Thank you. You too. Thank you for having me.
thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.